Myself Vanita GC, lecturer in Civil Engineering Department, Government Polytechnic, Nagamangala. Department of Collegiate and Technical Education has introduced the LMS program for the Polytechnic students. As part of LMS program, today I am going to give lecture on black cotton soil concept. It comes under Construction Technology course for 3rd semester Civil Engineering students. Before discussing the black cotton soil in previous class, we shall recall what is foundation and what are the types of foundations and file foundation types. Okay, so foundation means it is a structures used to transfer load from superstructures to substructures. Foundations which support the superstructures, and these foundations is provided based on soil conditions. It is classified depending upon the soil conditions. So foundations are classified into two types. First one is the shallow foundation and second one is the deep foundations. In shallow foundations, the bearing capacity of the soil is good. We can adopt shallow foundations. In shallow foundations, depth of foundation is equal to or less than its width. Suppose inside, if we foundations more soft soil, that is depth of foundation is more or any presence of water table near ground, and also if load is more, is preferred a deep foundations, because we could not provide shallow foundations. In case of shallow foundations, it is further classified into, that is so many types, that is spread footings, combined footings, mat or raft foundations, grillage foundations, eccentrically loaded footings, strap footings or cantilever footings, stepped foundations. So next, deep foundations. In deep foundations, we provide foundation of depth is more than width of foundations. So depth of foundation is further classified into two types. So first one is the file foundation, second one is the well foundations. Okay, and next, file foundations. Files are used for foundations for bridges, trusses, etc. The structures have to carry more load, and file foundations will be preferred. Okay, and these file foundations resist the load acting on files. We have to driven file till it reaches to high density soils. That means it reaches to hard stratus. Okay, and next, file foundations. So suppose the presence of water tables so high. Due to the presence of this water table, soil could not withstand more load acting on it. So shallow foundation could not provided in such situations. We have to prefer deep foundations. So load is heavy and non-uniform. In such situation, it is necessary to provide the file foundations. And raft foundations are costly and adoptions is impossible due to the local difficulties. In such situation, the file foundations is preferred. During heavy inflow or capillary water, where it is not possible to maintain foundation trenches because of presence of water could not reach dry. And next is it is not possible to timber the excavate trench. The upper layer of soil is compressible and waterlogged. In such cases, compressible soils and settlement of the structures, due to this settlement, cracks appears on superstructures. The topsoil has poor bearing capacity. So files are also provided when there is large fluctuations in subsoil water level, and also providing structures where it is that is situated on seashores or river bed. In some places, if canal or deep drainages line exist in near the foundation, these foundations as slandered, it take less space for construction. It cannot be it can take more load. And next is the file foundations. It is classified based on the functions, structure and materials and compositions. Based on the purpose of functions, it is classified on the basis of bearing files, friction files, sheet files, fender files, anchor files, batter files, compaction and screw files, based on the functions. Okay, and next is the bearing files. So bearing files are laid on odd incompressible layer, and these files are act as a column or piers. So we preferred column to the buildings and piers to the bridges to support the slab on bridge. So these piers are also called as end bearing files because lower end of the files can withstand load acting on it. It also acts as medium to transmit superstructure load on hard strata. It does not have considerable depth because it has to driven till it reached hard strata. And next is the friction files. So in some cases we could not provide bearing files. That means below the ground level more soft soil present, where it is difficulty to give hard strata. So in those situations, end bearing files depth increases, and in cost of construction is also increases. So we have to provide alternate file in file for friction files. Alternative files are provided in friction files. Here load is resisted by the friction files through friction developed between soft and surface of files. Here files are driven till skin friction developed at side of file is equal to the load coming on the files. And the difference between the bearing files and friction files. So in bearing files, it is called as a end bearing files. Friction files, it is also called as a skin friction files. Bearing load is resisted by the lower end and file which is resisted to hard strata. So whereas skin friction files load resistance by the friction along the surface of file. Difference in bearing files can be chosen in hard strata is available below the loose soil of low bearing capacity, whereas friction files provided over cohesive soil when low bearing capacity. Bearing files can be provided if water present in soil, because presence of water does not affect function of bearing files, whereas friction files cannot provided in presence of water because water reduced friction developed on surface. So friction files should be avoided in presence of water. And also next is the friction sheet files. Sheet files, these sheet files are essential in some situations it is used. So these sheet files are adapted, so are required to prevent leakage of fine materials and waters. So these files are used to retaining wall constructions, and these sheet files are protect structures from shocks and vibrations. These protects the river banks from cohesion. These friction files retained sites of foundation trenches. These files are used to confine the soil to increase the bearing capacity of soil. These files are used to isolate foundations because from adjacent soil. And sheet files are provided retaining walls in beaches, and it is made up of a steel which are driven into the ground to protect the backfill enter into the excavation portion. And advantages of sheet files, it is reusable and load bearing. So friction files cannot be reusable. So and these have long life both in above or below water. So has to adapt in marine structures also. And cost is effective and can install without sound. These are available in wide range of length and also sizes. And next is the anchor files. Anchor files which is provided against horizontal pull. And batter files, it is driven at some inclinations. Okay, the inclination may be, the slope will be provided 1 in 6 to 1 in 2.5. And it is resistance to large horizontal and inclined forces. And batter files also used for bridge piers, retaining walls and abutments, etc. And compaction files. These are used to compact loose granular soil in order to increase these bearing capacity. The files themselves do not carry any load. Screw files. And it consisting of a hollow cast iron or steel cylinders with one or more blades are at the bottoms. And these files, the blades are generally made up of cast iron. The bottom end of the sheet, that is files with a blend point, it is used when the ground to be penetrate consisting of a clay and soil. And next, that is based on the compositions, it is classified into timber file, composition file, timber files, steel files, and also composite files and plastic files. Okay, in timber files, usually it is the cheapest type of file and which take a very small load capacities compared to other files, it is very small. And steel files, it is used to carry heavy load. Spacing of steel files to increase the length can be done easily. And compact files, it is the cement, steel, timbers can be combined to form a composite files. So these are the, that is different based on the functions, materials and compositions. These files will be classified or will be classified. Okay, these are the previous explained for the deep foundation, types of foundations, file foundations and types of file foundations. In today class, discuss about black cotton soil. Black cotton soil, so it is due to its expansive characteristics. Black cotton soil, it is a heavy clay soil varying from clay to loam. Black cotton soil does not form clay to black cotton soil does not take higher load. It is generally light in grey, dark grey in color. Black cotton soil is heavy clay soil varying from clay to loam. Black cotton soil does not take higher load. It is generally light to dark grey in color. The most important characteristics of soil is when dry it shrinks. When dry it shrinks and it hard like stone and has very high bearing capacity. This soil, due to its excessive characteristics, it increase in volume to the extent of 20 to 30% of its original volume, and exert pressure. So this pressure is upward movement, upward pressures. The upward pressure exerts becomes a high that it tends to lift the foundation upwards. The upward pressure causes cracks in the wall above. The cracks are narrow at bottom and are wider as they go up. Cracks developed as 20 centimeter and may extend to 2 to 4 meter depth. Hence, this soil avoid in constructions. And load bearing capacity of black cotton soil is very less. Load bearing capacity of black cotton soil is very less, which is causing a various types of foundations failure, like punching failure and generally shear failure. And next, the figure shows the deep excavation in black cotton soil and foundation in black cotton soil. Develop very wide and deep cracks due to the excessive shrinkage. It is already explained. It becomes too soft to carry any load and swell enormously when dry soil is saturated with water. The cracks developed in drying black cotton soil, the constructions used black cotton soil is not acceptable, or used to precautions should be taken to avoid the considerable effect of seasonal moisture change in expansive soil such as black cotton soil, to reach hard strata, to take foundations below shore level. Under reamed files, they found useful for factory buildings or machinery foundations. These files are used under situations where the vibrations and noise caused during construction of files are to be avoided. And precautions for construction of foundations in black cotton soil. The bearing capacity need to be considered and should lead to a depth that cracks in the soil and introduction of a layer of sand to prevent the direct contact. The bed of foundation trench should be made firm or hard. The construction in black cotton soil is the best during a dry seasons. And next, under reamed files. So under reamed files, it is suitable for black cotton soil, and files may vary from 15 centimeter diameter to 50 centimeter diameter. So the bulb or under reamed are formed by under reaming tool. Diameter of the file is 15 to 50 centimeter and bulb diameter is 2 to 3 times the diameter of the file. So length of the file is 3 to 8 meter and spacing between the files are 2 to 4 meter. The load carrying capacity can be increased by more bulb at the base. The vertical space between two bulb varies from 1.25 to 1.5 times the diameter of the bulb. And the single under reamed bulb, in this case the bulb will be provided for a single bulb will be provided, and double under reamed bulb means, so in this case that is 2 bulb will be provided, and multi means more than 1 or 2 bulb will be provided. And next, under reamed piles. Under reamed piles, for black cotton soil the bulb is increases bulk capacity and also provided anchorage against uplift. Under-reamed piles are provided to be taken down to the certain depth because of the the reasons to avoid the undesirable effect of seasonal moistures, change in expansive soil, that is such as black cotton soil, and to reach hard strata, to take foundations below score level. Under-reamed piles they found useful for factory buildings or machine foundations, and these piles are used under situations where the vibrations and noise caused during construction of piles are to be avoided. So next, bearing capacity of the under-reamed piles can be increased by the some following reasons. So that is, increase the number of the bulb, and increase the overall length of the piles and increase the diameter of the file. It has shown in figure. So in first figure, for providing a single bulb, and second one is the double bulb will be provided, and third one is the multi bulb will be provided, and it shows the diameter of the file. And next, advantages and disadvantages of the under-reamed piles. Advantages and disadvantages of under-reamed piles. To decrease the vertical settlement and also different settlements. It is used when soil tends to swell and shrink due to the moisture variations and also expansive nature of soil. The provision of bulb has advantages of increasing the bearing and uplift capacity. These piles used as anchor piles because they resist uplift pressure of soil. Disadvantages of under-reamed piles. So, under-reamed piles are not suitable for waterlogged soils as they take load by friction. These piles need strict the quality control and regular supervisions during the constructions. Most of the time, under-reamed piles are driven manually with hand operations machines. These are the advantages and disadvantages of the under-reamed piles. And next, multiple choice questions. First one, in case of foundation on black cotton soil, the most suitable method to increase the bearing capacity of soil is to dash. Increase the, option 1, increase the depth of foundations, and option 2, drain the soil, option C, compact the soil, option D, replace the poor soil. Answer is, in case of foundation on black cotton soil, the most suitable method to increase the bearing capacity of soil is to replace the poor soil. Second question, the black cotton soil undergoes volumetric change. Option second one, swells excessively when wet and shrinks excessively when dry. Have a tendency of swelling and shrinkage due to clay particles. So last option, all the above. The black cotton soil undergoes volumetric change. This also true, and swells excessively when wet and shrink excessively when dry. This option also correct, and has a tendency of swell and shrink due to the clay particles. This is also correct. So last is all the above. Answer is all the above. Next activity for students to prepare a case studies on construction of foundation on black cotton soil. Thank you.